Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I was going to film this video a few days ago, but I have been sick. Being a girl at that time of the month is fun, and dealing with all of that. So today I wanted to talk about my TBRs, to be reads. So I thought I would take you along and show you all of the physical TBRs that I have, minus my self-help books, because I have a ton of those. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that, but I thought I would start here, so I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. So first, on my physical TBRs, I have my other books in a different room, but these ones are on my bookshelf because I did not want to haul them into my room. I have the entire Animorph series here, and I have read a bunch of them. So I've read all of these special edition ones. I've read these two here, the first two, and then I've of course read like number 1. Number 2 was the first book I ever read when I was younger. If you know anything about this series, it's just, it was my childhood. It was everything. I've read, there's like a chunk in here. It's like 2 or 3 books. It's like a mini series and then another book. So I've read a bunch of these, but I haven't read them all. And going up on my bookshelf, which I do plan on doing a bookshelf tour sometime, just not yet. I have the 39 Clues series as well, all of the physical books. I also have the ones, it's not Kindle, but on my iPad, I have them on there because you can't get physical copies. But I have listened to, because I haven't actually read any of the physical books, I don't think, but I've listened to the audiobooks because David, what's his name? I don't know. He does the voice for all of these audiobooks, and he is amazing. He does different voices for different characters, and I am obsessed with the audiobooks. But I have listened to number 1 all the way through here, number 4 in the Double Cross, minus this black book here. And I haven't actually listened to or read any of these ones. So these ones are on my TBR. And now we're going to get into the other portion of the video, which is in another room. I don't know if this is a good angle, and the lighting is atrocious, but that's fine. I don't have much. I have the phone and I have my window. So yes, I am at home recording for the first time ever in this place, I think. My cousin's in the shower, and I'm just going to pretend like I'm not self-conscious and go for this. So like I said, I'm not going to be showing my self-help books. There are a whole bunch more books, like 2 shelves full, not bookshelves, just personal shelves full of self-help books, if you will, and some spiritual books that I am just not going to show in this video because that's a lot of books, and those are not as well known, or I'll make a separate video for special interest. But to start off, I do want to kind of get into some of my more words, I always forget what those are, non-fiction books. I don't know genres. I suck at that, so whatever, just deal with it. My first book is Girl Wash Your Face. I got this probably in 2019, I want to say, and I was very intrigued by this. I just gone through my separation with my now ex-husband and picked this up. It just kind of hit home at that phase of life, but I haven't actually read it. I have read a bunch of it, but not all of it. So this, I'm really, really excited to read. Next, I've seen the movie of this, and I wanted to read the actual book. Brain on Fire, Susanna Cahalan? Don't know if I'm saying that right, but I've watched the movie. The movie was amazing, and I personally struggle with a lot of health issues that are unknown, so I'm intrigued to know the story, her story, from her perspective. I also picked this book up on a whim at Walmart, and I don't know exactly what it entails, but it looked really interesting. Not that bad. Edited by Roxane Gay. It's Dispatches on Rape Culture, and this is a topic I'm very passionate about. And I read a few little pieces in it, and I'm just excited to see what this is about. This is a book, this is kind of a self-help, but I started it, so I thought I'd include it in this video, and that's Invisible Chains, Overcoming Coercive Control in Your Intimate Relationship. Again, I have a lot of very heavy self-help books for personal reasons, so it's really good. I've only gotten like through the intro and the first chapter because I had to do a lot of healing after I read that, and it's not a book that I can just read. I have to like take time to figure out what I'm thinking and feeling when I read books like this. This next one I think I might actually read. I just finished a book that I was reading last night, and I think this might be my next read, and that is Bad Mormon, a memoir by Heather Gay. This was the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was the church that I grew up in, and not currently active. I still have a lot of love and respect for a lot of things. I've just kind of gone on my own spiritual journey, and I'm excited to read about her journey with being raised in the church as well, and just leaving. I don't know the entire story, but her journey with all of that. So excited to read that, and I think, like I said, I'm going to read it next. Next, I have just some random books that I'm excited about, but yeah. So I have a series called Del Toro Quest, and if you've heard of it, it's amazing. I read it when I was younger because I didn't get into reading as intensely until about 2020. Excuse me. And so a lot of books that I have are either from childhood or just things like that. And Del Toro Quest, I still read it to this day, and it's fantastic. I have 2 books in that series. They're the special ones, so they're like extras in the series. There's The Secrets of Del Toro and Tales of Del Toro, and I believe this is, man, it's been so long. It's been a couple years since I read Del Toro Quest, but these are like the tales that they know in their world. I think, I could be wrong, but I'm excited to read these. I just haven't gotten around to it. I think I've started this one or this one. I don't know. I started reading it to my son when he was a baby, and it was way too gruesome, so I stopped. But I'm excited to read these. And then kind of along the same lines, I have an anime series that I really, really love. I adore. And I picked this book up. It's Ruby, Fairy Tales of Remnant, and I don't completely know what it's about, but it's Ruby, so I'm excited. If you know anything about Ruby, you'll understand if you like it. These next 2 books are the second and third in a series that again is from my younger years, and I loved the book growing up, and just, I shouldn't say growing up, I was a little bit older. I read quite younger things when I was a little older, and just didn't get into young adult and adult until I was much older. But the first book is The Girl Who Could Fly, and I loved it, and I found out that it had a sequel and a third book. So The Boy Who Knew Everything and The Girl Who Fell Out of the Sky. I just reread the first one so that I could get into these because it's been years since I read that book. I still did enjoy it, but I find that a lot of young reader books, unless they're done really well, like Harry Potter, Del Toro Quest, there's a few others I can think of, I find a lot of books in the young readers tell so much of the story and don't leave too much up to the imagination and fill in all the holes that I like to fill in myself, so I find it more tedious to read. So I'm gonna try this, and if I really don't like it, I might just keep the first one and get rid of these and move on. But I do have these on my TBR to at least try. Now this one I mentioned in my last video of authors that I don't particularly want to read except this book, and it is Ghosts of the Shadow Market by Cassandra Clare and a few other authors. The reason I picked this up is for Jem, because I love the Infernal Devices. I don't care about reading any of her other books necessarily, but I love Jem, and I know he's involved in this book, and so I just want to read about him, and then I'll be satisfied with that author. I'll be happy. And then I have a series here that I want to read this year before August, November, I'm not really sure when, because a 5th-ish book, another book comes out in this world, and that is Aragon. I actually have the entire series here. Aragon, Eldest Brazinger, and Inheritance. I have read Aragon before. It took me like an entire year to read because I used to be a very, very slow reader, and I did enjoy it, but it took me so long to read, and it's one of my cousin's favorite books. And so I'm excited, and Murtagh is the book coming out later this year, and I adored Murtagh, so I'm excited to delve into this and hope that I enjoy it more than I did when I was, I don't know, 17, 18, I don't know how old I was. Oh, I'm moving the pile so that I can reach these books. This next one is also a memoir. I love memoirs. This is by Evanna Lynch, The Opposite of Butterfly Hunting. Evanna Lynch is the one who plays Luna Lovegood in the Harry Potter series. And in this book, she talks about her struggles with her eating disorder and I think a few other things, but I also suffer with an eating disorder and have for many, many years, over half of my life. And so I'm excited to just read her perspective on life and about her journey. This next author I'm so excited to read. I've seen this book all over, and it doesn't seem like a storyline that I really care about, but I've heard that the book is just so good that I had to give it a try. Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I want to get into more thrillers and like horror books. I just don't really know my tastes because I haven't delved into this genre, but I have heard so many good things about this that I'm excited to read it. Probably gonna pick up soon. This next book, my sister was giving away some books. I know nothing about this. I think it's just like a home hardware buy, but Don't Keep Silent by Elizabeth Goddard. It sounds really cool. It's kind of like a mystery. It says gripping romance and mystery, so that's exciting. We love a good mystery with some romance in there, and it just sounds really, really cool, so I'm excited to read that one. Next one, I got this because of the author, because I think it's really cool when actors or actresses write books, and this is Bailey Madison's book, Losing Brave, also with Stephanie Miller. I don't know, but they wrote this together, and it sounds like a really good book. I'm just a sucker for people who branch out and write books along with other things in their life, so the storyline sounds good, and I'm excited. Okay, my favorite author is Melanie Sellier, and I found her books because I was researching like clean romance books, but fairy tale retellings, because I love fairy tale retellings, and I know those are heavy in the romance area, and I like clean romance with just like the hint of spice or like a little bit of spice. And I found Melanie Sellier 2 years ago and read some of her fairy tale retellings. I'm waiting to get some money to buy the rest of her series. And then she has another series called The Spoken Mage, which I fell in love with, absolutely adored. And then this series, so it's, I don't know what this series is called. Oh, the Hidden Mage series. So we have Crown of Secrets, Crown of Danger, Crown of Strength, and Crown of Power. I am trying to read and look at the screen at the same time. So these books are, I think, I don't want to give that away. That could be a spoiler. But this is the next series in that world, and I'm super, super excited to read this because, again, Melanie Sellier, there's only one book of hers that's kind of like a novella filler book that I didn't really love, but that was the only book out of all of the books that I've read from her. And along with this series, I have the next series, Seeds of Glory and Ruin, sorry. I don't have the rest of this series. There's 3 more books, but I'm excited to read them all and get the rest of the series, most likely. And I love this world. I adore this world. If I could read the first series again over for the first time, I absolutely would. It's a world that I just want to live in. Okay, I don't want to live in, but like read and live in that way. This next series is Destiny's Path. It's a 4-book series. So we've got Destiny's Path. You know what? I'm not even going to read all these because the titles are kind of funky and I'm going to just not be able to say them well. But it's 4 books. I got this because the author wrote the Fairy Path series, which I loved when I was in high school. And I always wanted to read this series and I just couldn't get my hands on it because back then we didn't have a computer with internet and I didn't know how to order anything online and stuff like that. So I couldn't get these books. And then when I got older and, you know, I had my own money and my own cards and everything, I ended up getting this series, which I am excited to read and I hope I like, because I did. It's a little bit younger, so I don't know, my tastes have grown since then, but that is fine. We shall see. The next book I have is Crank Palace. It's a Maze Runner novella. I'm waiting to read this one because I haven't actually read the Maze Runner books. My cousin has them on her bookshelf and I keep saying I need to read them. I just have this thing where I need to read my books on my bookshelf first, but I'm trying to get over that. And I've seen the movies, love the movies. She read the books a couple years ago and said they were different than the movies, but she likes both. And so I'm excited to read the series and then I'll read this because we love the characters in that book. Next one is the first installment of the Drizzt Do'Urden series, Homeland by R.A. Salvatore. I picked this book up because my best friend growing up and my cousin also enjoy this series, and I also had a brother-in-law who has this whole series, and I kind of want to just expand my repertoire of books, but I know I'm also shooting myself in the foot because this is like a prequel. I think there's 3 books before the rest of the series, and he wrote these later, so I know his writing style is going to be much more improved. And when I do that, like the Infernal Devices, I'm a little scared, but I also know that if I jump into something that's harder for me to digest, I'm not going to enjoy it. So I'm going to read this one and just go from there and hope it goes well. Next book is The Elfstones of Shannara. I haven't read, I actually started reading The Sword of Shannara when I was much younger because my brother loved the books. My mom has read some of the books. I just found it boring and couldn't get into it, but I do want to try because, again, I'm trying to expand my repertoire, and I heard that this is a good book to start out with. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I have this one, picked it up secondhand, and I'm excited to try it out because it just sounds like a cool world. This next book is The Nesting by C.J. Cook. Sorry, I think this lighting is awful. I don't know if you can even see half of these. I picked this book up because I read 2 of her other books, The Lighthouse Witches and The Ghostwoods. Loved The Ghostwoods. Lighthouse Witches was a little harder for me to get into, but by the end was really cool. This one also sounds good. It's like they're standalone books, but she wrote 3 books that are like gothic mystery type, and this is the first one she wrote, I believe, and I'm excited. I have like 2 of her other books in my Amazon cart right now because I just really like her writing, and I'm super, super, super excited to read this book. Again, I think I'm gonna read that one very soon. Next book is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I picked up this book because when my cousin was serving her mission, she had a companion who said this was her favorite book. And I was just intrigued when somebody says, oh, this is my favorite book. Unless it's ACOTAR. I will not trust your opinions. Come at me if you want, again. I was just intrigued to know what this was about. I haven't seen the movie. I've kind of been putting it off so I can read the book first. I think I got, how far did I get? I'm only on page 14, 15, because I was just not in the mood to read this when I picked it up. I was in the mood to read something different, so, but I'm super excited to read this, and I'm going to continue. Next book that I want to read fairly soon is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Suzanne Collins. I love the Hunger Games movies. Wasn't a huge fan of the books, but I do want to give them another shot because I read them very shortly after I watched the movies, and I kind of need to have space before I do stuff like that, like jumping between movies and books and even like different characters and stories. So like if you go through a series where you have these characters and then the next series is their children or someone else, I kind of have to wait a little while before I read the series because I'm so in love with the first thing that I read or watched. So I wasn't a huge fan of the writing style either. That's kind of what threw me off with the Hunger Games, but I do want to give it a second shot again. And I want to read this and see what this is all about. And really excited to watch the movie, but I want to read this first so I don't, you know, have the same issue that I had before with the movies and the books. The next book I kind of picked up on a whim. I'd been looking at it for a while. It's The Darkening by Sanya Mara. This is a YA, I believe. That's what my bookstore had it under. And I thought about it for a long time, and then I think I just picked it up because I was having a really bad day, and I was like, well, I've been staring at this book forever. I'll just get it. It sounds cool, and I'm intrigued. I'm kind of putting it off because I just don't know, but I bought it, so I'll read it eventually. This next book I have shown in a previous video, but again, it's on my TBR, so I'm going to show it again. Sunrise by Perry Sabie. This author, he was a friend of mine when I was a young adult, and I found out that he had written this book, and I picked it up, and I'm very intrigued by it. I've started it. I haven't finished it because it's kind of in my beginning phases of my reading journey, and I got sucked in by other books. But the premise sounds really cool, the book sounds really cool, and it's Perry. And so I am extremely excited about this book. This next book, I don't know. I don't know about this book. My Dearest Enemy by Jennifer Moore. So this book it's definitely a romance. So I'm not sure how I feel about this. I used to read books like this quite often. Pretty sure it's Christian. I got this from one of my sisters getting rid of books, and again, the premise sounded really cool. This was when I was active in my church. I used to read books like this a lot because we have a bookstore, and they sell a lot of books by LDS authors, and I'm just not really into these things anymore, but I do want to give it a shot. I did read another one recently that I liked some of it, but I don't know, that's a different topic for a different day, but the premise sounds good, so I'll give it a shot. Okay, the last books I have are series. And I have read the first 2 installments in this next series. That is the Blood Grace series. This one is Blood Sanctuary, part 1. I have part 2 here as well. And this is a series that I just adore. Again, I mentioned in my last video that I don't like spicy stuff or smut. This is a series that has that stuff, so if you're watching this and you don't like that kind of stuff, beware. But I really enjoy politics when it's not dry. This book has politics, it's got intrigue. I also don't like vampires, but vampires, they're just not called vampires, they're called Hesperines, however you say it. But the first book, it was a thick book, which I kind of wish this was just one book because I love chunky books, but no, it's split up into 2. This series is fantasy, it's got political intrigue, it's got romance, it's got spice, it's got mystery. Oh my gosh, it's got so many things. And again, for me personally, personal preference, if this series had all that stuff without like the really intense spice, I would personally love it even more, but I can disregard that and I just adore this series. So I have the first part 1 and part 2 of Blood Sanctuary, and then I also have part 1 and part 2 of Blood Union, which again, I wish these were just one book because give me a chunky book and I'm a happy girl. The last book of this series comes out next month, I think June 6th, and I'm so excited to buy it and to read it. At first I have to read all these, so that's fine, they'll keep me busy. And then this is like a prequel, Blood Price, and I'm excited to read this. There's also 2 stories on Kindle. I have them on my iPad, 2 or 3, maybe there's 3, I don't know. I have to figure out when to read those ones because I don't like reading on electronics, but that's the only way I could get them. So Vila Roth, if you ever print them in a book, I will love you forever because I just don't like reading on electronics. But I'm super excited to read the rest of the series. As you can tell, I'm obsessed because I've already bought the rest. And book 1 and book 2 were just amazing, 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 amazing. My final books that I have on my TBR, which I didn't actually count how many I have. That's also really difficult with my Animorphs and 39 Clues books, but that's fine. These are the last ones on my TBR, and it is also a series. It's called The Street Rats of Aramore. I read the first book. It's called Banished, and it was everything that I want in a fantasy book. Everything. Well, I like a little bit of romance, and there's nothing in there yet, but that's fine because I'm fine without romance as well. As long as it's not pure romance, but a little bit. We like a little bit. Banished was amazing. It was, I think it was, I don't know if it was written for younger readers, but it is about a younger boy. But I feel like the series is just gonna grow because by the covers, it looks like he gets older and older and older. And then there's a second series, which is what sparked me into this series because I wanted to read that series and heard that there was a series beforehand. So yes, the second one in this series, the first one was Banished. It's by Michael Weishart. The second one is Hurricane. And then Rock Slide, Sandstorm, and finally Wildfire. And the last book is currently being written, which I'm so sad because I know that once I get into this world, I won't want to leave. And if the last book isn't published, I'm gonna binge this series. I just know that I'm gonna binge this series. But this, I struggle explaining things, but this series is so good. It was just intriguing. I loved the world. I loved the characters. I've been putting it off because I'm kind of waiting to read it until the last book is out, or at least closer to being out, because I binge series because I don't want the world to end. But and I didn't have the money to buy the rest of the series at first, so I was waiting till I got the money, and I got the money, and now I just need the last one. But yes, these are my physical TBRs that I have, and I'm excited to read them and continue on my reading journey. I'm gonna count these and I will be right back. We've got 46 books here. That's not very many. That's actually not bad. I get very overwhelmed by lists and big piles and things like that. So, but 46 books. I read 43 books last year. I've already read 32 this year. That is doable. That is so doable. Anyways, I'm excited. I did also count, I think it was 49 books, other books that I have. When I talk about my self-help books, I'm kind of a self-help book hoarder, but they take me a lot longer to read. But anyways, on that note, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye! Totally forgot, hopping on here really quick. I do have 2 more on my TBR. They're loans from my mother, and this one is Julie Andrews' Home. I found out this wasn't written by her because I was looking into memoirs written by the actual people, and this one isn't, so I'm gonna give it a shot. I don't know if I'll finish it, but yes. And this Old Battered Boy, I don't even know what it's called. Where's the title? Is there a title? Does it have a title page? Oh, it was my grandmother's book. It's by Drayton Mayrant. Once the Blade, that's what it's called. It's about Pilate, so if you know anything about the Bible, it's about Pilate's wife when the crucifixion was happening. And I know I'm not big into like spiritual things right now, but this is one of my mom's favorite books and I've just always been intrigued by it. So I don't know if now is a good time to read it because I'm so towards this stuff right now, but I do kind of want to give it a try. I don't know, the writing style might be hard. I've tried reading like The Work and the Glory and Fishers of Men and I just couldn't get into it because the writing style, so we'll see if it's too much for me. But yes, those are also on there. Okay, actually, by this time.